Hello everyone, welcome to this third episode of Locomotive Cat. Today we will be unboxing this very big box of N-scale stuff that I recently purchased from a Finnish model train flea market group on Facebook. And before we get on with opening the box, I thought I might just briefly explain how I ended up buying a big box of stuff when I wasn't actually planning to do so. I had been having an eye on old Piko models of an East German class 65 tank locomotive. When I checked on eBay, they tend to go for about 25 to 30 euros a piece, so they're fairly cheap. But when then someone like me who lives in Finland purchases something from Central Europe, the postage is another 20 euros or so. So, compared to the price of the locomotive, that's quite a lot. So I asked around in a Finnish model train flea market group if anyone would happen to have one and might be willing to sell it, because postage fees in Finland are a lot cheaper. And I got a reply from a collector who was like, yeah, I have that. I also have a bunch of other N-scale stuff that I've been meaning to sell for a few years now, because I decided to stop collecting N-scale stuff. So yeah, you can have everything that I have for 150 euros. Now, if you're Finnish, you're probably familiar with the comedy series Tankki täyteen, which was written actually by a British man named Neil Hardwick. One of the main characters in that show is a man called Sulo Vileen, whose catchphrase is "Noku halvalla sai," which roughly would translate, well, I got it cheap. And that's the whole point of this one. I went to buy a Piko Class 65, hoping that I would get it for, 30 or 35 euros, including postage. And instead, I got this whole big pile of stuff for 150 euros, including postage. Considering what's supposed to be included, I think I got a good deal, but I did end up spending a lot more than I was planning to. But let's get on with opening this thing. Some directors like a lot of cutting, but it seems that this director has a different thing in mind. And here we have the stuff. So there should be quite a lot of different stuff here. There should be locomotives, carriages, also some landscaping for what I hope will be my eventual permanent N-scale layout. So let's see. Let's start with this one. These are all just packed in random boxes, so I have no idea what is in which one. You messed up the colors because I picked up the white box. Technology. More packing material, even more packing material, but judging by the shape we have here, probably a locomotive. Indeed, this is, I believe, a Piko model of a French electric locomotive. It's a bit dusty. Certainly by Piko, I think, yes, an French SNCM, Société Nationale de Chemin de Fer. That might have been a wrong accent. Anyway, probably not going to keep this, because I don't need a French locomotive, but Nice one. Locomotive number 2. Or I can use it for spares if I can't get the other to work. Oh, and here is a West German. This is, let's see, this is a Trix model. Oh, yeah, West German Deutsche Bundesbahn class V200. Well, that's what it was originally called. Then when the locomotive classification system was changed, it was renumbered into something else. Again, not something I would necessarily need, mutta kun halvalla sai. Then, what I presume is locomotive number 3, which is, oh yes, this is another one that I really wanted, an East German, Deutsche Reichsbahn, class 118. You remember we talked about class 118 in my earlier N-scale video. 3 of them were built with this special front end to make them look more streamlined. They look a bit like French Nez Cassette type locomotives. It was something that I quite wanted, so, you know, one of the reasons why I got this set was this one. And then we have one more in this particular box, which is another different front end, class 118 from East Germany. This is slightly broken from there. I'm probably going to use this one for spares. Even though there were only 3 of these, it seems that Piko used them in a starter set for N-scale. So, you know, quite a lot were actually made when you consider there were only 3 of the originals. And next, let's see, maybe this one, probably a passenger or cargo car of some kind. Yep, it's an Österreichische Bundesbahn ÖBB passenger car by Arnold. So actually the company that, if I remember correctly, invented the N-scale, really in my colors. You've seen my wall and, you know, my shirt for today. Probably another one to sell, but a nice model. And, well, yeah, it would be nice if I can make back some of the 150 that I spent on this box of things. West German. Why is there a piece of tape here? Carefully. Because the roof is loose. So let's not remove it entirely. So this is a Deutsche Bundesbahn. What do you call these things? Not a luggage car. That's the word I was looking for. By also Arnold, I think. Yep, Arnold Rapide, made in West Germany. Oh, then we have some buildings, but I think I'll need to remove some of the other stuff. First, we have one that's in a box. Again, one of these really nice Piko boxes, and it's a freight car. I don't have any freight cars yet. Yeah, Deutsche Reichsbahn Kühlwagen. So it's a cooled carriage. Definitely keeping that. Then we have, this is an interesting type of box. I haven't seen one of these before. So this is a Bachmann N-scale American-style caboose. There's an old Finnish children's book that's a particular favorite of mine and now my kids. called in English the Little Red Caboose, which has the morale that, you know, the Little Red Caboose is the last carriage on the train, but it's the most important one, because how else would the train stop if you have ancient carriages that don't actually have brakes in them? Makes less sense from a modern Finnish perspective, where every carriage, even all the cargo carriages, have their own brakes usually. Let's see, there's a lot of stuff here still. So here's a box. I won't be showing you the top because it has someone's address on it. Also makes suspicious noises. So there's, this is probably, I was also promised what are called in Finland million boxes. So stuff that's broken and to be used as spares. That's precisely what this is. That's just a lot of random stuff. These will probably be really useful when I need to repair something. I won't dig too much into this, because then this video will be even longer than it's already going to be. Then we have a little Fleischmann diesel locomotive, still in original packaging. Very small. With this one, I have to admit, I have no idea what this is. Let me know in the comments if you do. This is probably another million box, by the sound of it. Let's see. This is a million box, but for buildings. Yep. Also going to be highly useful later on. Let's see, can I remove these safely now? I think I can. So we also have some buildings that have already been assembled. This is, I would say, a school. But then that's the Finnish person in me talking, so it could be something else, but it looks very much like a school. This is by Vollmer, made in Germany. Nice, will be very useful for the eventual permanent layout. Then we have a signal box, also going to be highly useful. This is a bit broken, but a villa, what we call omakotitalo in Finnish, so literally own home house. Yeah, useful, since not everything in East Germany was big concrete buildings, though I am going to make big concrete buildings. And then there's an overpass. Need one of those. And more trains. This is a large box, surprisingly big for an N-scale one. And what does it? Oh, it's upside down. This is a Czechoslovakian, I think, electric locomotive. I think another model by Piko, obviously. It was in a Piko box, known as fish bowls. And I think this is probably also the type known as laminatka. But this is in fact the Soviet version. The tsh is 4 tsh is. Difficult to pronounce. Cyrillic letters. Never again. No, actually, really nice one, like this. And let's see, this is an interesting box. It says, DEB prêt for Dresden, Gütewagen. So it's by prêt for East German, anyway, people's industry, whatever it is, properly. It's another Kühlwagen, identical to the one we already got. Good. So now we have 2 freight carriages. That's freight, not fright. I have to remind myself of that. Here we have... this is in pieces. No, there's 2 bits. Righto. This is a NOHAB Nyqvist och Holm Aktiebolaget diesel locomotive. These were made in Sweden, exported pretty much all over Europe. They were used in Denmark, Norway, Belgium, Luxembourg, Hungary, later then sold further on to other countries. This, I think, is probably an attempt to model ones that came to Finland, because one of these was tested in Finland in 1959 or something like this, when the Finnish state railways, Valtion Rautatiet, wanted to purchase a heavy mainline diesel locomotive. NOHAB seemed to be pretty sure they would be chosen, because they built something like 5 units for the Finnish wide gauge network. But then in the end, after test drives, the Finns opted for a Finnish design, the HR12, which is similar but not identical. And then the ones that NOHAB built were exported to Norway instead. But this is the color that the one that was tested in Finland had, and the sort of Finnish test version of the NOHAB locomotive is actually fairly common for Finns to try to make their own model of, because with 1 or 2 exceptions, every locomotive built for Finland until the mid-90s and the arrival of the SR2 electric locomotive, which is based on a Swiss prototype. Up until then, all Finnish locomotives were of a bespoke design. You can't take a model from some other country and just make it Finnish, because they're completely different, except the one test NOHAB. So small modifications to livery and external appearance of your run-of-the-mill production NOHAB, and you get the Finnish version. So very popular amongst enthusiasts. I think I will be keeping this for that very same reason, because if I'm ever wanting to make some Finnish stuff, this will be highly useful. There's this one, and then in the same box you have just a body, or rather the engines and things of the similar one. This also has lights. It also has bits falling off. A keeper for sure, even though it's not East Germany themed, but one day I might try my hand at making a Finnish themed one, which would then require a lot more work. Then there's a tool for easily railing stuff, which is good. Didn't have one of those. And we have one more locomotive, which I hope is the Class 65. Certainly it says so over here. The Class 65 that I actually got this box for, or that's the reason why I got this box. And it is. It's a beauty. The East German Class 65 is not to be confused with the West German Class 65. They both had a tank engine class called 65, because they were following the same locomotive numbering system that had been developed in unified Germany before the war. One of the few locomotive classes that were developed in East Germany and were successful, whereas the West German Class 65 was quite unsuccessful. Really happy to have gotten this one. We won't be test driving these in this episode, because I've already talked for 25 minutes, and even if I cut some of this out, it would still make this very long, so we'll see if this works later, but really happy to have gotten my hands on this. And last but not least, we have an entire original East German Piko N-scale starter set. Here we have, this is a model of a V180 diesel locomotive, which is actually the same as the later 118 class. This is the first Piko model of this class, and if you remember what it looked like, what the later model, not the one with the different end, looked like from my previous video, this takes quite a few creative liberties. There's no inset in the windows for the real one. This has kind of a nose which isn't there in the real locomotive. Then we have a conductor's carriage or luggage carriage, and two old school passenger cars of the type that I already have, and I showed in my first video, and tracks to make a proper layout, or not well a proper layout, but a complete layout. These are the so-called U-track by Piko, and I'm not sure if you can see it in the video, but the rail isn't actually rail shaped in these. It's shaped like an inverted letter U, which is why it's called the U-track, and there's a different mechanism for coupling the tracks together. You have these little strips of metal that go inside the U. So it will be interesting to test drive this, because this pieces are falling off. This little set here is probably older than I am, so it will be something of a testament to the quality of East German engineering, if it still works. But yeah, that was everything. All in all, I would say this was a successful haul. We had 5 locomotives we can use, 5 wagons, and then the buildings. So yeah, nice one. So that was all for today's episode of Buying Yourself Happy. Do give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Do comment down below if you happen to know what the little Fleischmann thing was, or if you have any other comments about this particular video. I will be probably uploading a test drive video of these for you, but that will likely happen after Christmas. So until then, goodbye.